picture. Looked like that was kind of the only one. There were a lot of different places. And then finally, 2 hours later, we made it to Donley. It was the town that we were in, and just another overhead view. I'd say it was comparable to like Lynchburg size. I mean, not obviously the skyscrapers or big buildings that Lynchburg has, but about the same area as Lynchburg that we were in for the week. And the first thing we did when we got to the town was we went to the church. The church was Iglesia Gran Comisión, or Great Commission Church of Donley, and that church is in a funky partnership with our church in America, big partnership of churches through Great Commission Latin America, which is all the churches combined. And so this is their building that we went to. It's a 3-sided, basically concrete brick building that they're constantly adding to. The construction in this picture that you see is where they've been adding on an extension of the wall. To the right side of this picture, you'll see more closed-in building. And they did have a few of these rooms off to the side for several different things. They use them for storage, but they also use one as sort of a classroom. Because one of the services that the church provides to the community, one of their outreach functions, is a children's nutrition clinic. And that it's sort of like a daycare where they have kids that are sponsored. They bring them in, they feed them, they give them good nutrition, but it also opens that door up for the chance to talk about God and to teach these kids about Jesus at an early age when they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do that. Another cool outreach function in the church that they do is behind me in this picture is a small tortilla factory that the church runs, and that gives them the chance to employ 3 or 4 people in the community, give them a job, something to do, and once again that just opens the door to invite them to church, to just tell them about God, a lot of different just opportunities that they're using. And I just thought it was a really cool example of what we could be doing here in America, just really searching for those opportunities to invite people to different functions or just to talk about God a little bit more. And this is a little bit closer in view. They did have a projector screen. The last night of the week, we actually got to join with them in a worship service. And it was sort of a going away service for us, but we were able to worship with them. And one of the things that was really cool was that they had a praise band, and they were playing some songs in Spanish that, based on the music, we knew in English. And so we could sing them in English, and they could sing them in Spanish. And it was just a really cool kingdom moment. And one of my friends, we were talking about afterwards, and he's like, that's one of the things I feel like heaven is going to be like. It's just no matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter that we're all just praising and worshiping God. It was one of those cool moments that you just really like to keep back there and remember in times to come. And one of the first things that we did after we kind of found out a little bit more about the church and what we've been doing is we separated out all of the donations. There were, people, I came to ask you all for donations. Everyone on the team was collecting just clothes, toys, school supplies, a lot of different things. And those were our carry-on bags, or our check bags, excuse me. Because we gathered them all together, packed them into duffel bags, and that was what we carried with us. Just another picture of sorting it all out into different types, age, that sort of thing. And this is one of the ways I wanted to reflect on how you all had an impact. If you can see kind of in the foreground of the picture, right by the guy in the maroon shirt on the right, is a stack of 50 Spanish Bibles. And these are Bibles that were bought with some of the money that you all donated. And believe it or not, I wish I had chosen to get more than 50. We weren't sure how many we should get, but these Bibles were one of the ways that you all had a direct impact on people's lives in Honduras. This is just the whole donations aspect of it was one of my favorite parts of just getting to see the donations come in the States here in Virginia, physically carrying them with us, and then physically handing them to people that needed it. Whether that was putting shoes on a child's feet, which I've got some pictures of later, or whether it was with the Bibles of taking a Bible and giving it to somebody who needed one that didn't have one that was in their language to understand. It was just a powerful moment, and I hope that you all will soak this in as well, because those Bibles giving away, that was an extension of you. I was just fortunate enough to be able to be the one that handed it to them. But that was an extension of your love, of your giving, that helped people come closer to God. And it was just really neat. Everyone was so excited that we had those Bibles to give away. It was something they hadn't really had in the past. And so it was really exciting. And while we're talking about the donations that you all gave, a lot of the other money, there was a good bit of it left over. And after talking with the pastor down there, through translator and through my broken Spanish and his broken English, I'm pretty sure that the rest of the money is going to go to help build a wall for the church. Just going back a few pictures, it's kind of 3 sides right now. The goal is eventually close it in, make a more enclosed space, and so some of the money that you all gave will go to just physically help build a wall in that church to help close it off there. So that's more of the impact that you all are going to have in Honduras for the people of Dublin. After we finished throwing donations and had dinner, we met our host family. This was Edwin. He was, I guess, my host brother, so to speak, and that he was also one of the translators along with his sister, and then and them and their parents were both members of the church and prominent members of the community. And how it worked for the week is that there were a couple people from the American team, so it was me and my friend Josh, and we were paired with a host family. And so there's probably 5 or 6 host families all across the town that we stayed with. And my host parents, they were actually a lawyer and the assistants of a lawyer. And so these were members of the community that just were so hospitable. They were so loving, and they were saying what an honor it was just for us to be there. And we were saying, no, we thank you for allowing us to stay in your home. And that was the room that we were in. We stayed. It was very nice accommodations. It was a lot more than I expected going into it. It was just a wonderful place. And with the host families, each morning when we'd go out, the school bus that I talked about earlier, it would just make a school bus run. It would come around to different bus stops and pick us up. Sometimes we'd have to wait for a while, other times we'd almost miss the bus. But luckily it picked us all up and took us to where we had breakfast each morning. This was kind of my first light site outside of our house that I was staying in, because when we got there it was dark. But there's a lot of these kind of gated metal features, not necessarily in this part of the town, but in other parts there's just a lot of razor wire. I don't think I'd seen more razor wire in 1 week than I've had in my entire life. But that was just how they did it. I think there's a lot of crime down there, and this is what they did to prevent that. But behind these, metal gates, behind these walls, there are, beautiful homes that we all stayed in, and beautiful people as well. And so, just kind of getting into the rhythm for the week, each morning we'd gather, we'd eat breakfast, we'd have a little devotional together, and then we'd go to the church and we would pack food bags. That was just part of the outreach tools that the church had, was packing kind of an assembly line of food. The lady in the right, you can kind of see her holding this bag of food there. And what would happen is the church had already selected some houses that were people of peace, so to speak, that we could go. And so our teams would break off into a couple different groups, and we would just go. We would go, we'd walk up to their house, ask them if we could come in. With a translator. Each of the groups had a translator. For my group, it was actually one of the church leaders, but for most of the groups, it was high school and college students from Tegucigalpa that came. They were members, they're affiliated with the church, and they were amazing. A lot of times when we were at a loss for words, we didn't really know what to say, they would just take over. They were so firm in their faith. They knew what they were talking about. They sometimes knew what they were talking about more than we did. And it was so cool just to see how strong their faith was and how excited they were to share it. I know some of the groups they were talking about